Back in the 1800s, skyscrapers didn't exist, okay? You didn't have 70-floor tall buildings, beautiful luxury penthouses. You had simple 3, 4, maybe 5, the highest they might go, floors high, basic buildings. And why is that? It's not that we couldn't build high. Actually, they could. They actually had the capabilities of it. The problem was you. The problem was you people didn't, you didn't want to go up that high in the stairs, right? But, obviously you're thinking, oh, well, so they invented elevators and we had skyscrapers. No, no, no. Elevators were already around, actually. They were just horrible. People didn't trust them. They were run by like steam powered, think like rope and pulley system. You had to manually crank something. You had to have an elevator operator. It wasn't manual. You didn't just automated. You didn't just click a button, right? And above all, it was dangerous. People didn't feel safe in them because of one simple thing. What happens when the rope breaks? Well, the elevator falls and you die. So people didn't trust them. They didn't want to get in them. And because of that limitation, people couldn't build vertically. So vertical buildings, vertical cities didn't exist. There was no mega cities, metropolises. There were to an extent, but not to what we have today and all over the world, everywhere, right? Enter Elisha Otis. This is 1854. Elisha Otis is a mechanic working in New York for some bed frame factory. And he was working on some little problem where he had to create some sort of safety mechanism. And this safety mechanism, he realized, oh, this could also probably work as a stop for an elevator. And so he made it work, actually. But no one believed him. No one actually cared. No one thought it was real. So Otis did something radical, something really legendary this is one of the greatest stories and we can learn from him today. This is probably one of the first stunning real life marketing spectacles at the time. So in 1854, there was this convention in New York. It was, what was it called? It was the Crystal Palace exhibition. And this is where it would basically be like the CES of today. You would showcase a bunch of cool tech. At the time, it would really be industrial tech, not like technology like you think today in CES or TechCrunch maybe. And imagine if you've ever watched Silicon Valley, Richard Hendricks goes in TechCrunch and, presenting his new technology, his incredible Wiseman score that blew the world, right, in the show, whatever, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so what is his tech? His tech was the safety mechanism for the elevator, but how do you show this? Well, at the time, as I explained to you, people were so afraid of what happens when the rope breaks. And so this was his spectacle, his moment. He stood on top of this wooden elevator. Obviously, this is not like we have them today. And you can see he has this axe here, or another man actually here, and he broke the rope. And everyone gasped. They thought he was going to fall, or at least they expected it. And it did for a couple inches until it stopped. And then he said the most famous legendary words at the time. This was recorded all over the tabloids, as you call it, the newspapers. The words were, "All safe, gentlemen, all safe." And that became, from there, a hit, and elevators took off. And as you know them today, we have cities because of that, mega cities. Small businesses were able to flourish. So many things came out of this simple invention. And he didn't invent the elevator. He really just helped people trust to get in the elevator. And so that's why this was a very legendary moment. He already made this, but no one believed in him. It was until he really captured people's imaginations and visual to actually trust the elevator. Also, of course, before this, you had to have an elevator operator. So this, got rid of that. And of course, we had some many major improvements afterwards on speed, efficiency, and stuff. So for many other reasons, elevators, grew what we know as these megacities today. But Otis was the first, and his spectacle was just a really, really cool visual to, get people to understand what's going on. And so this is what we need. We need this for eVTOLs. We need a day that the skies change forever. We need to see something crazy, okay? Imagine, people are just going about their days in New York and you see a bunch of eVTOLs flying and landing on the skyscrapers, or some cool, crazy spectacle to, really tell people this is here. We made it. And I don't know what that day or what that moment or what that event looks like. But just like Otis taught us, it needs to happen because he didn't create the invention. He just made it safer for people to trust it. And the story goes here is as well, we're already flying. People already know about helicopters. They just don't trust them. They're also not so efficient in terms of, what eVTOLs are doing here, but we're not getting into that. The idea here, the concept is the story of, we need a cool spectacle, and that would be really cool to have HOVR do. And I think we have this guy, Andrea Mocellin, the new designer guy, to help with that. I don't think necessarily the event, but the fact that we're going to have a beautiful showcase product and hopefully a good working product. So imagine, seeing a regular looking plane like this, and then the wings open up to the fans. You don't expect that. People don't know about the Cavorite. Nobody really knows about this plane. And someone pointed it out to me, actually. Let me show you this. I actually shown this in my last video, but I've never seen something like this. A plane literally mid-air hovering. Landing, but hovering. It just, it's something that I actually have never seen. You always imagine just planes have to have momentum moving. And so when I saw this, to me, this was very memorable. This was quite a spectacle. Although this was literally just a little test thing in the, in this carrier ship. But, since we're already open up here, my point is that was very memorable. And here's another memorable event that you probably remember, when Elon showcased the RoboVan and actually even the CyberCab. But the RoboVan, something we've never even seen before, they've never even talked about, and all of a sudden it's actually, he isn't just showing you a sketch, right? He is literally showing you this is operating. They've been working in the shadows until this is operating, and now look how many people walked out. Like this is show don't tell, right? This is showing, oh wow, there's like 20 people walking out of this van. It literally got there autonomously. There's clearly no driver. As you see, the seats are back to back. And this just looks like the future, right? This looks pretty damn awesome. Just like people perceived when they saw this, right? This is like, wow, this stunned people at the time. I mean, you obviously know and take for granted what an elevator is, but at the time, you can imagine this was next level shit. And so that's what we need. That's what we need. And Andrea is probably not doing the event, but what I do like that this is going to be his biggest challenge. He's all in, I think. If you look at how he's talked about HOVR, and here he is specializing in aviation. I like that he mentions aviation first before automotive and micromobility sectors, because his baby, although these companies are companies he's working for, his baby is actually Revolve, a company that he's built this really cool, here you'll see, this really cool, efficient, saving space, wheelchair. And that's what he's all about. He's actually about saving space, making beautiful design, which I like that. Just like, Tesla. Teslas sell themselves because they're beautiful. They don't need to do marketing. That's what we need for HOVR. That's what we need for the day the skies change forever. We need just a spectacle. We don't need to explain people this goes 500 miles versus Joby's 100 miles, right? We should show them these are flying around. Imagine these are flying around New York City for like 2 hours long. Just like this will be all over the news. This is practically free marketing. You don't have to tell the news to post this. They're going to post this when you have these flying around the cities, like a bunch of them, right? So silly little AI video here, but that's kind of the thought there. And this is, I think, so this is going to be his biggest challenge and one of his biggest goals, just like kind of looking at his past work and stuff. I think he's clearly worked with Lilium and they failed, and him coming back at round 2 only says that he really likes trying to solve a problem for this. And so I'm really excited for that. He's failed and he's trying again. And let's talk about some unconventional trade-offs and where I hope or think or want to see him help us improve with this. But before I do, actually, let's mention why they actually brought him on and what they said about him. Okay, so I like right here, the CEO, Brandon Robinson, emphasized that Andrea's ability to bridge engineering and design aligns with the company's vision of delivering a visually iconic aircraft. That's awesome that he's on board. Brandon wants an iconic looking aircraft, just like I'm talking about. I'm not going to say his last name, I'm sorry, I probably pronounced it wrong. With Andrea's influence, the Cavorite X7 is intended to stand out not only as a technical achievement, but also as a design benchmark in hybrid eVTOL. That's what I'm talking about. We want not only, for it to look beautiful, but for it to actually work beautifully. Like, just like I showed you that video of the hovering plane. Like, imagine this thing is actually working beautifully, going up and down. It looks beautiful. It's, flying around the city for an hour. I don't know what it may be, but this is why they brought Andrea on. And this is what I was actually thinking. And this line right here, this whole statement just proves it for me that I was right. This is what they brought him on, and I love this. So I actually hope to talk to Andrea. I'm going to reach out to him, and I have a lot of questions for him and Brandon as well. I hope this is only 2 weeks old, this news, so I'm really excited to see where this goes. We need our, change our day. The skies change forever. I need to make it a better name for that. They need to make a better name for that. I don't know what they're going to call it, right? What did Elon call this? I forgot what he called this day. It was not Robotaxi Day. It was something else. But yeah, we need some special event is what I'm trying to say. And let's talk about these unconventional trade-offs. Okay, the wing angle. I'm curious because they also said that Andrea's going to help with the actual, design, look at the plane, not just the insides. Which is also probably going to be a lot of the focus and the inside and saving space and also weight, because every little pound matters when you're talking about, this hover vehicle. So what I found extremely interesting that I just personally realized myself, I don't know if this is anywhere spoken of actually, is the angle of the plane, of the wing. Interestingly, it's going outward, like forward. If you look at almost any other aircraft, right, just Boeing plane, any plane, not even eVTOL. The first thing it talks about is a crash. That's crazy. Wow, 9 hours ago. Wow, this is new. Sorry, unfortunate news. Wow, but this is why we need some safe vehicles, right? So, just look at any plane. The wings always go backward, right? Even any eVTOLs, like even Liliums. Let's see, Lilium jets. How are theirs? Theirs was not backwards. It was just straight flat. It wasn't forward, but it's clearly actually like aerodynamically going backwards, right? So planes I've noticed are always just kind of forward flat, their wings, right? Not forward, flat or backward. It's extremely weird and interesting to me that they chose this design decision of moving it forward, especially also when you see the two front wings are actually going backward. So how come they made this decision that these are backward and these are forward? I think that's less aerodynamic, and that's actually a trade-off that they decided because of the hover, because I think the wings have to be more forward here to actually, have more of the thrust ability. Because if the wings are backward kind of, then I think they would just need a lot more thrust in the fans. So the fact that this is forward is because it's more like centered with the plane. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you just simply move where the start of the wing is forward and let it go backward, that could kind of solve it. I'm not sure. I really don't know anything about aerospace engineering, but this was a really, really interesting and obvious trade-off to me that I noticed. And I think that's the decision, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I lost you there, but my whole point here is I think this decision is because of the upward thrust that they need. So I wonder if Andrea can help improve that, just like how Lilium's jet doesn't have that problem. And that would make the jet just look better, because right now it looks like a freaking manta ray, okay? Which isn't a bad thing, actually. It could be a good thing, which is something I wanted to talk about. Would love to know if the CEO ever considered or thought about that. Maybe from a biomimicry perspective, they did choose that, right? But it's a lot like a manta ray, if you think about it, which is just kind of funny. But maybe that's a good thing. I mean, manta rays are actually really awesome creatures. They go for very, very long distances, which is really cool. I actually was planning to make a whole video on this, how the Cavorite is a little like the manta ray, but I kind of jumped into it. I should do a whole nother thing on that, but I'm interested in that if that's any intention there. The other trade-off is the no cone tip. That's right. Let's look at almost any plane, not any regular plane, I guess. Plane, Rolls-Royce, engine, right? The engines of almost any plane, the wings, have this sort of, you see this cone tip because, well, it's better for aerodynamicness, right? Even here, they always have this cone tip, which I find really interesting that that the Cavorite does not have that, actually. And this is also a trade-off I think they had to make, that not that they want to make, just like the wing. I think they would be much better off with a cone tip and having the wing angle facing backward or at least straight. But let me find here a good. Actually, if you just look in here, well, let me find you a better photo. Okay, so basically all their little wings here, I was just thinking, the ends of the wing here should have a little bit of a cone shape, just like every regular engine, right? Every regular fan engine. So it obviously doesn't. So that's a trade-off, I think. And that trade-off is because they want the wing to close. So they have that fan and wing design, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. This is a great thing. And this is kind of the Elisha Otis thing of like, this is the safety mechanism thing of what makes people trust these eVTOLs. Because I don't know if these Joby Archer propellers are really the solution, We've seen what's with the V-22 Osprey and, what's up with helicopters. So people don't trust that. People want to see a regular plane that they already trust. People have traveled thousands of miles already on regular planes, and this looks like it. So that is a trade-off, I think, for a design appeal, like, to look like a regular plane. This is a really bad image, but yeah, you get my point here, right? They have these random little circular, tops instead of these pointy, more aerodynamic cones. Of course, they can't have it because then they wouldn't be able to close the plane. Although I think they could still pull it off, but that's a whole another topic, and maybe more for Andrea to solve if that's even worth solving. Maybe the trade-off is so minimal, honestly, that it doesn't matter, honestly. So I'm not sure, but those are two little things that I just wanted to point out. I'm curious what you think. Is the cone tip a trade-off, and is the wing angle a trade-off? And if so, am I right, like in why they make those trade-offs? I hope Andrea will help solve all those problems and beyond, actually. Even acoustically, I actually have some ideas there. Maybe I'll make a whole nother video there, but we're not going to talk about that. I don't know. If they can reduce sound, make everything safer, and you know what? Let's jump into it. They actually just announced some news. The Cavorite X7 to possibly use hydrogen-powered instead of just the current turbine, big oil, regular hybrid-powered eVTOL. And the news here is that they're open to improving and bettering their plane, bettering the technology, making it more safe, more sustainable. And this is a big step forward to that. I am really not too big on hydrogen. Most hydrogen commercial, transportation stuff has failed from my knowledge. Like the biggest one that comes to mind is Nikola's and their shitty trucks, right? That was a whole scam. The guy's literally in jail, their CEO, or at least was the CEO. I don't know what's up with the company. That's a dead stock. But, the Zero Avia company, I looked briefly into them, and, they look pretty legit. I don't know, there's this talk of, this guy shows this presentation, which makes me really, a little bit frightened here. He's showing how hybrid electric is like probably the worst approach, as you can see down here, just from the quick like scanning, right? I'm not going to explain all what this is. And he explains how their approach of the hydrogen electric powered versus the hybrid powered is much better. And so I'm just happy that the CEO is, he's not closed to their solution. He's open. And this is not a full swing change, actually. As you can see, this guy said he is scared that basically they're changing their objectives and not focused on, what they're doing. And Brandon basically responded nicely saying, nope, that's not true. Our objective is still the ICE hybrid aircraft. They are just kind of making sure they're open to any possible improvements in the future. So if anything gets better with them, they might make a new plane with them, but they're still making the Cavorite X7, X9, whatever it may be. But maybe they're going to make also a hydrogen version of it, and that's more for like long scale, maybe 2040 kind of thing. Whereas now, 2030, 2027 goal of maybe taking off finally will be obviously the ICE hybrid version. And that's what we'll probably hopefully see with their Spectacle, the X7, not the hydrogen-powered version. But this is just some news that came out that I wanted to point out, that it's pretty exciting to see that they are exploring different avenues and are definitely open to improvements. Just like I mentioned here, if hopefully, if I didn't even show Andrea's website, but it doesn't matter. Hopefully if Andrea helps improve it, I mean, look at his designs. He's going to make the Cavorite beautiful, but also hopefully much better, efficiently working. Just like we went over these trade-offs. Maybe he can help with those trade-offs or other trade-offs I don't even know about. Obviously, I'm super new in this company and I barely know really anything yet. I'm just learning. There's a bunch of cool stuff coming up. I'm actually still I'm learning a lot as I go, and this is quite exciting. But the more I learn, the more this company is just really awesome. And I just this all stems from I wanted to share this Otis story and how it relates to Andrea's enter in HOVR, and hopefully we have some really big stuff coming soon. Just like honestly, this would be awesome if we have a sort of RoboVan event. That would be awesome. Or just flying. I don't know how. I don't think they could get regulatory approval to fly all over New York like that. But if they could, well, that would be a freaking awesome show. Nonetheless, this is my thoughts, my opinions on it. There's really no no facts here actually, other than the partnership. But I hope you like the story, and I hope you like what my opinions and thoughts on this stuff. Let me know what you think of the trade-offs. I'm actually quite curious. In general, what your thoughts are on any of this. So thanks for watching till now, and until next time, stay thinking, question everything, and peace the fuck out.